Hello and welcome to the Business Tech Insights podcast. I'm your host, Brad Nelson, and today I am joined by Stacey Renee Wigg. Stacey, thanks for joining us. Can you introduce yourself for
Thank
our
you,
audience?
Brad. Sure. My name's Stacy Wig. I'm the CEO and founder of three businesses: Fit Zone Personal Training and Wellness, Buff Stuff Equipment Line, and Virtual Vision, which is a virtual assistant agency. I'm a professional bodybuilder and decathlete, as well as a Hall of Fame athlete with Tri Fitness. And now my biggest moment is just helping men and women, middle-aged men and women, find their inner athlete and love their bodies again.
Oh, that's super cool. So, if I can ask, why the passion for middle-aged folks?
Well, I am 55 years young,
Wow.
and every decade has just a different strategy and protocol when it comes to staying in shape. And that can be really frustrating, even for the most knowledgeable people. So, being able to find exactly what works for you at each decade is kind of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. And as you get older, you have all these missing pieces, and those missing pieces can get very frustrating. You have arthritic changes, you have hormonal changes, you have just all the challenges of aging that like happen upon you. Eyesight is one.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just throw their hands up and give up and say, well, I'll just sit here with this glass of wine and call it quits. Um, and then a lot of these people have been fit in their life and nothing works that used to work. So it's really fun to see that smile reemerge when someone realizes, oh, I'm not limited by these arthritic changes. I'm not limited by these hormonal changes. And there are answers and there are strategies that work. And I can feel even better than I did than when I was in my 30s.
Wow. So, and do you also get people that maybe weren't as fit in their younger years, but then have realized, like, oh, hey, I want to live a better, healthier
Yes.
life, and so they want to make a change now?
I'm getting a lot of those right now that actually I've gotten a lot of women lately who have never touched a dumbbell. They've never strength trained. And I come from a bodybuilding background and started working out when I was 9. So I really have to take a step back and start from the beginning with them. But I had one just yesterday and it was her second week. And the smile on her face when she realized I can actually pick up a 20-pound weight and carry it. She went to pick up a 5 and I suggested a 10. She picked that up. I said, okay, let's go to 15. Pick that up and then 20, all in the first couple of weeks. So imagine what can happen in a year.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. So,
Yeah.
where did the with your three different businesses, where did the ideas come to start each one of those? Like, what's the story of how you began each one?
Well, Fit Zone Personal Training spawned from 40 plus years of being in the fitness industry, being an athlete. I literally ran my first gym when I was 16. So we're talking almost 40 years ago. When I was 17, I was the playground director for 4 different playgrounds. I went to college early, got very interested in sports psychology, biology, kinesiology, and it just spawned from there. I was a child who was a gymnast and a very happy-go-lucky athlete with a lot of direction and fulfillment. And then I went through several traumatic events in one year when I was 13. My grandfather committed suicide.
Mm,
My grandmother, who was my main like caretaker and woman of strength in my life, passed away.
mm,
And then my parents adopted a baby, which was great, but then forced me to quit gymnastics. And
mm,
my big dream was the Olympics.
Mm.
So I went, kind of spiraled down from there. I suffered from an eating disorder and suicidal ideology and a lack of just purpose in life. And that brings me all the way to searching out my passion just by getting multiple degrees. I went to physical therapy school and became a physical therapist and spent 2 years
Mm.
doing that. That wasn't it. Went and got a degree in psychology, became a counselor. That wasn't it. Started managing gyms. I coached gymnastics all of those years. And what it boiled down to was that I loved each and every part. I loved physical therapy and I loved behavior therapy and I loved exercise and gymnastics and nutrition. And I needed something that would allow me to wear all those hats that I had built the knowledge and the pinnacle for. And so it came down to I had always wanted a space where everybody felt at home and we're united by people with common goals and struggles and challenges who could come and work through those and succeed. And in November of 2024, I got a phone call from a real estate agent that said, there's this gym that has grown out of their space. Do you want to take it over?
Hmm.
And asked them how much, and they told me, and I said, absolutely not. And then, then I joined a mastermind and realized that with small group personal training, I could make the difference that I wanted and pay the bills for this new business endeavor. And I just went for it.
Mm.
Now we have a physical therapy clinic, a massage therapy clinic, small group personal training, one-on-one personal training, a beautiful space that everybody walks into and feels like home. And we're an affiliate with DECA, which is a decathlon organization. And we just ran our second competition with over 60 athletes from all over. So, and many of those athletes are middle-aged athletes. So it was
Huh.
really fun to see everybody cheer one another on. It's just a different kind of environment when you unite middle-aged athletes that have been through all the struggles and maybe have found their new passion in fitness that drives them to meet all those other goals, like actually their health, their well-being, and really feeling confident in their body.
Very cool. And then, so from that, is that what also spawned the idea for the exercise equipment?
Yes. So Buff Stuff Equipment Line is a equipment line with bands, all kinds of bands. We have a backpack that has a set of glute bands, a set of long bands, TheraBands, a yoga strap, and it's in a backpack. So you can take it anywhere. You can throw it in your suitcase. You can throw it in your car. During COVID, I noticed that the biggest challenge was people didn't have a place to go work out anymore
Hmm.
and they didn't have equipment at home and you could no longer get equipment for a home because everybody was buying it out. So we came up with this idea and ordered about 400 sets of these bands, had the backpacks designed, and off we went with the help of my VAs.
Very cool. Okay, and then tell me about the VAs. Kind of
Yes.
segue into each one.
And that's really a beautiful story. Right before COVID, I was contracting out of another gym. And then COVID struck, and there was a need to renovate my home in order to keep serving people. And I did that. I had been doing online training as a bodybuilding coach for
Hmm.
10 years prior to COVID. So fortunately, I was already there and able to make that shift, but I started creating courses and doing more social media, more education, and just kind of pivoting. And I realized I could not do that alone. Even though I didn't have as many clients, I was still working 14-hour days and trying to keep up with the demands of social media, which became very prevalent during COVID because no one else had any other way to communicate. I realized I need help. So I set out to find a solution, and the solution was an agency that provided skilled virtual assistants from other countries at a fraction of the cost that a virtual assistant would be here in the States. And that is that's where I met Ivy, who is still my virtual assistant. We've been together for 5 years, but we spent a year with that company. And over the year, and the Filipinos are very private, prideful people. But over that year, I realized that she was not making a fair wage
Mm.
and I was paying more than I charge now, but it was what she was making was an eighth of what I was paying.
Oh,
So
wow.
we branched off, and I paid her a fair wage, and then we decided that we wanted to make a difference on both sides. We wanted to make a difference in the lives of Filipino families because once we made that difference, she was able to provide for her 3 sons, her niece, her husband, everybody in the family. They were able to get a car, a washer, things that they could have never gotten before if they were with the other agency. So we decided to create Virtual Vision. And we're an agency that hires skilled Filipino workers. And I don't know how much you know, but the Filipino population has a high education and low opportunity.
Hmm.
So we get a ton of amazingly educated Filipino workers, um, and then we pair them with American businesses who really need help. And our small to mid-sized businesses, not all of them can afford to have an executive assistant here in the States for $100,000, a year.
Yeah.
So it's really a good fit because it makes a difference on both sides. And it may not be gym related, but every gym owner needs a virtual assistant. So
What is the biggest need you see for gym owners that a virtual assistant can help fix?
especially number one need is social media
Mm.
because social media can be just this giant rabbit hole. And then we have a lot of technology now, which is very helpful, but somebody needs to still create video, footage. They need to put the pictures together for collages, and we just there's so much. It's a full-time job to meet the needs of Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter and whatever else, a YouTube channel, and we have them all.
Hmm.
So it takes up about 2 to 3 of our 8-hour days just to manage social media. But my virtual assistants do lead acquisition, they do phone calls, they do payroll, they handle all of the things, all the menial tasks that take up a lot of time so that I can focus on my genius, which is building, building leaders in our community to help people find their health and fitness again.
Very cool. Very cool. Now, with all the technology you're using for not just the virtual assistants, but for your gym and for your exercise equipment, what are some of the challenges that you face kind of coordinating all of that?
Well, yeah, you expect the technology to replace some of the human hours, but really it just changes the human hours. I have 2 full-time virtual assistants, and that's mostly to manage all of our technology because our gym is we're very technology based, but we also have a very high human touch.
Yeah.
So our consults are 30 to 60 minutes just to, when someone comes in to inquire. When someone is onboarded, they get everything's customized. So it's anywhere from 4 to 8 hours just to onboard one person. So we at FitZone can only take about 2 members each week due
Mm,
to the fact
mm.
that we customize everything. So we customize their nutrition. There's software for that. We customize their training. We have a training app that has all of their workouts specifically for them with video demonstrations of everything, the ability to connect to all of their gadgets, progress reports, photos, measurements, and all that good stuff. We also have a medical grade body analysis machine. It's not an in-body, it's a step above that.
Mm.
So we need software to run that, but we have to deliver the results. You can deliver the results, but what does that mean? And what does that mean for your training and your nutrition? So all of these things that enhance the experience and give us more data also take a lot of work in order to manage. We need tech support in 5 different ways every single day. So it's truly a blessing and a curse
Yeah,
all at
yeah.
the same time. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
the
it
technology should amplify human capacity, right? So, and it does that. But that comes with a lot of hours on the back end, teaching people how to use the technology, especially the older folks and our staff, and dealing with any technological issues, in addition to needing something separate for almost everything. Our training app doesn't sync with our scheduling app, which doesn't sync with what comes from the Seika body analysis, which doesn't sync, so all of
huh.
these things are separate modalities to be learned, to be measured, and to be managed.
So you don't have any sort of automation that kind of syncs it all together. You have to kind of manually
Yes.
get all that data and
Yes.
put it together. Oh,
Exactly.
how do you? So I'm assuming that you take in quite a lot of personal information of your clients.
Yes.
Name, address, phone number, maybe even some medical information. How do you
Yeah.
keep all of that secure?
We definitely only pay for secure platforms.
Mm.
So our, financial obligation every month is thousands
Well,
because we
yeah,
want to keep our members safe, their information secure, and at the same time have the highest level of, user friendliness, highest level of data acquisition that we can provide for them.
right, definitely. Well, and
Yeah.
kind of as you mentioned. Oh,
Yep.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, kind of as you mentioned earlier, at least in my opinion, technology should make you more efficient, and it should
Yes.
make your clients, uh, should give them an easier time dealing with
Yes.
your programs and all that sort of
Yes.
thing. Uh, so, yeah, it's important that you
Mhm.
invest in that, and that
Yeah.
it sounds like you're doing things in the right way, which is
Yeah.
good. Now,
Well,
oh,
we have a scheduling app, and that scheduling app is the same app where they pay. So that part it syncs, and it provides a much more pleasant and simple experience because someone can be on their couch at 11 p.m. and schedule their session and see in real time how many and who is in that session. And they get notified if there's any issue with the payments for their subscription or anything like that. So those two things, that app also provides workouts, but we
mm,
have been in a different app that I love for 10 years and we'll always use that. We go through Trainer Eyes, and because we have built our entire program through this other app.
mm,
So that is
mm,
separate. So our members have two separate apps that they deal with on a daily basis, one of which has their workouts that they do outside of our training sessions here, their progress reports, their photos, measurements, all that good stuff. The other one has more of the administrative side, scheduling, payments, etc. They do get an invitation to our medical grade body analysis software in case they want to look up their results this month as opposed to 6 months down the road, so they can see that they've gained 4 muscles and lost 7 pounds of body fat and how that has impacted their overall health.
Now, so do you use oh man, I'm trying to remember what it's called. One of those fancy machines is like a DEX scan or something like that.
Yes, yes.
That
We
is
have a
super cool.
SECA, it's SECA, and it is typically only found in doctors' offices. You won't find them in many gyms. And it provides 19 points of data on one's health and fitness. So it goes way beyond just body fat and how much muscle you have on your right side, left side, core, but also what your cellular health looks like, the
Mm.
quality and quantity of your cells, of the water in your body, how much is working for you inside of your cells, how much is spilling out, how much inflammation you have. So it gives us a lot of data to work with to help people God helps me come up with the best nutrition plan for them, because if someone has a high inflammatory marker or issues with their cellular health, they need to be on an anti-inflammatory diet.
Hmm.
If someone has, if they have very low muscle, their body, I call it the body armor, right? If they
Hmm.
don't have any body armor and they're getting older, they're high rate for, osteoporosis and things like that. So we really need to go hard on building that muscle and that infrastructure for the body to age well.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure that that's a very valuable tool to
It
provide the
is.
best service you can.
It is.
That's and I've seen those machines like in videos and stuff, and I've always wanted to try one because it seems super cool because it's not just
Yes.
as I'm sure you know, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you know, standing on the scale and looking at the number on the scale is not an indicator of your health because fat weighs stuff, muscle weighs stuff, water
Yeah.
weight weighs stuff,
Yes.
and you can be losing weight but be terribly unhealthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the BMI is that differentiation of height and weight, right? And so in my bodybuilding days, I would register as obese, even
Huh.
though my body fat was down to like 8, 9% prior to competition. So no, it's not a good indicator. It is just one of the many ways we can determine progress for the average population. So BMI tends to not work well for athletes who need a significant amount of muscle or have a significant amount of mass
Hmm.
that is muscle and not body fat. But for the average person, it's one of the many indicators that we use.
Hmm. So it's kind of a basic rule of thumb for the average person.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But the body analysis machine goes so much deeper, and it literally gives us how many liters of fat a person has around their organs, which is the disease causing body fat.
Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So now I'm sure it depends on each person's goals and body composition and that sort of thing. But I see a lot of people out there saying like, "Oh, well, weightlifting and no cardio is the way to go, or all cardio and no weightlifting is the way to go, or
Right.
you need to have a balance of both, or
Mhm.
lift heavy, low reps, or lift light, a ton of reps." What can you dispel some of the myths
Sure.
around some of that?
Any time someone says it's an all or nothing, that then that is just not an accurate statement. No matter who we are and what our goals are, we all need a combination of the different health, fitness, and nutrition modalities.
Mm,
So being a carnivore or even vegetarian diet is not going to give us all the nutrients that we need. Lifting heavy or lifting all the time and not doing any cardio is not going to serve our heart in the best way possible. And then doing a lot of cardio and not much weight training has a, an abundant number of negative factors. So
mm.
a lot of people can burn off any muscle that they do have by doing too much cardio, not taking in enough protein and calories. We're not building our body armor as we age. So I've seen a lot of, you know, cardio queens throughout their life that get to middle age and they're starting to see fractures and all kind of injuries and things that they didn't see when they were younger because over the years they've kind of burned off any of that muscle that they have to protect their bones, to increase their metabolism, to do all the things that our muscle cells do on a daily basis.
Yeah. Wow.
So the combination. Yep,
Oh,
sorry.
oh, no,
I was
go
gonna I
ahead.
was gonna say at the middle age, we definitely believe that strength training is paramount. So,
Mm,
and that's what people are missing a lot of the times because people can go out and go for a walk. They don't need equipment, right? I'm not saying a lot of people don't go out and go for a brisk walk and really push it, but the more people we see coming in without strength training is the biggest issue that we see.
hmm. Okay. Well, that was going to be my next question is what's the biggest mistake you see people making? And interesting. So, um,
That's a good question.
yeah,
Can I
if you
add
want
to
to
that?
expand on that, go for it. Yeah.
Well, now that and I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole, but now that we have GLPs, the biggest mistake I see people doing is using the GLPs as a crutch when they have 10 to 20 pounds to lose, and it wasn't meant for that.
Mm,
And so they will fail to build a solid foundation of strength training, cardiovascular movement, um, clean, healthy food. I'm not saying you have to cut calories down to, 12 to 1300 calories. Just eat healthy whole foods. And they fail to do that. And they go after the easy button first, thinking that, oh, once I get this weight under control, all of that is just going to fall into place. And it doesn't happen. And
yeah.
that's why we're seeing a lot of very unhealthy people because when you do take that route, you're not just going to lose fat, you're also going to lose a bunch of muscle. And if you don't have a strategy to keep the muscle that you have and or build more, while you're on that journey, as well as making better nutritional, selections, then you're going to come out of that just putting that weight back on or in a very unhealthy state or both.
Hmm, hmm. Well, I feel like, at least here in the United States, sometimes it can be difficult to eat healthy consistently just because of the lifestyle that a lot of people live here and all the really easy, ultra processed
Yeah,
food that you could, I mean, it's super simple to just pop a frozen pizza in the oven,
right.
or a cup of mac and cheese in the microwave.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you suggest people get into the habit of eating healthier? What can they do to avoid the convenient ultra processed foods and kind of fortify their diets with healthier options?
Yeah. It's hard, right? I mean, we have simple solutions everywhere. We have DoorDash. We can just add, and there may be some healthier selections, but nothing's as good as what you're going to fix at home. So, in order to make that transition, usually I have people start with one meal.
Hmm.
So, let's clean up breakfast. Instead of driving through the drive-through, let's set out Sunday to make some egg bites, and we'll do one of your favorite other, maybe yogurt and berries, and we fix that first. And then, okay, let's just focus on breakfast. And the funny thing is when they start doing that, they start to realize, oh, I actually feel better in the morning and I don't need that third cup of coffee to keep going because I'm crashing. And then we go after lunch. Sometimes we have a lot of people, of course, that at night, the way they decompress is either food or alcohol. So we'll start there. Intermittent fasting is not for everybody. There's a lot of new scientific research coming out that for, like middle-aged women and stuff, it may not be the best thing. But for anybody who has an issue with I call it the nighttime monger,
Uh-huh.
where once they open the cabinet, like they keep getting things out of it and, and sitting and watching Netflix and, doing the nighttime feeding. Um, Intermittent fasting really has been helpful because you have a specific time that you cut that off and you find other solutions. You have some herbal tea, you call a friend, you go for a walk. We're in Maryland right now. There's lots of snow outside me. So people aren't going out for their nighttime walks, but finding other solutions is the thing. And if you're somebody who eats out like 2 meals a day and you're just grab and go, just start with one meal of
Mhm.
healthy whole foods, things that roam, swim, or grow in the ground.
I like it. And then just kind of build from there. Little tiny changes compounding into
Yes,
big changes. Yeah, I think
exactly.
that's a good way to just build any habit.
Yeah,
And it's interesting you mentioned alcohol. I've been doing a like a health/fitness challenge,
yeah,
me and my wife and a couple of our other family members, and part of it is abstaining completely from alcohol. And I'm
okay.
the kind of guy that, occasionally I will drink a beer or two
Uh-huh.
at night. And I definitely don't drink all the time, but um, just that change, abstaining from alcohol and drinking more water, I have noticed that I've been sleeping better and
Yep,
just overall feeling better. And so it's
yep.
interesting how just one little change can make such a big difference.
Oh, yeah. Did you do dry January?
We're doing a kind of modified version of the 75 hard challenge. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard of
I
that.
like that. Of
Yeah.
course, we did that at the gym. We did what we called 50 strong.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was exactly that, a modified version of 75 hard. And we had several rules that everyone would abide by. One was no alcohol Sunday through Thursday, and 2 drink max on Friday, Saturday. The other one was reading 10 pages of personal growth daily. Um, those two, what I noticed is I enjoy wine immensely. And I work 14-hour days typically, and I tend to relax with a glass of wine every
Hmm.
night and talk myself into thinking that there was no negative impact to that. But when I started the 50 strong, instead of saying, no wine, no wine, no wine, I knew I had to go to bed a little earlier in order to read my 10 pages of personal growth, which meant I didn't really have time to have a glass of wine. And I was doing something much more conducive to, my own physical, mental, spiritual, and, physical, mental, spiritual health.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing that we're doing that I feel has has been really nice, actually, is
Hmm.
reading reading at night. And
Yes.
we're doing 10 pages of basically any book. So I
Okay.
like to read nonfiction. Um, I've been reading uh, a couple different more technical books and a couple kind of psychology books because that's what I'm interested in. I've been reading um, the the Bible a little bit more,
Great.
and that's been good. My wife, she's been reading a mixture of kind of some self-help books and some just
Hmm.
fiction, just for fun, because she enjoys that.
Yeah.
But just that change too, I feel like has improved our mental health.
Oh,
Winding
for sure.
down with a book instead of winding down with TV and a glass of wine or a beer definitely has
Indeed.
made a difference. Yeah. Now,
Indeed. I mean, yeah, alcohol is a toxin, so we can't forget that.
yeah.
And therefore is toxic to our body. And I think that in moderation, and just allowing us to enjoy social engagements with others and enjoying that because community is also number one pillar for our overall health. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we start to use it to decompress or use it to, just be brave or lose the stressors of the day, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah, definitely. Now, that community bit,
Yes.
do you notice that with your gym and stuff and these competitions that you've been having that community where everybody's encouraging each other and keeping each other accountable, do you think that's also a super important thing?
Crucial. Crucial. Our entire gym, out of our entire gym, I would say we're almost to about 40% that are competing in DECA, which is a decathlon. And it is what I love about DECA is it was designed for people who could no longer run long distances or do the Spartan. It's a Spartan organization um, program. And there's a Deca Strong, Deca Mile, and Deca Fit. But without getting into that, what that's done, it's given people a reason to pick up those 40 or those 80-pound weights, a reason to throw a really heavy ball over the shoulder, and then a reason we do what's called teams, which is like a duo. And
Hmm.
so two people can compete together. And so it really unites people. And we do that on the weekends. We'll do DECA duo training where everybody gets a partner and they have to do the whole decathlon together. And so
Hmm.
it's a really cool way to unite people, and it's really for all levels. So people come in and they think, "Oh, I could never do something like that." And so I don't really say anything. I acknowledge their concern and then just kind of plant the seed, and slowly I start having them do all of these things until they're doing all 10. And then the next time they say, "Oh, I can't believe that they competed in that competition." And I said, "Well, you could do that." And "No, I can't." "Well, you just did. You just did all of the events." And they're always like, "What?" And then I've got them.
That's awesome.
Then I've got them. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you're making very positive impacts in people's lives, and I think that's very commendable.
Thank you.
That's great. Um, to switch gears a little bit, what do you think about AI? And do you use any
Mhm.
sort of AI tools in your businesses?
I use AI every day. And I love AI for this reason. When I tend to write in a very scientific way.
Hmm.
And so I'll write, and I love to write. So I'll write, and then I can put my content from this old brain into AI and say, "Can you make this content just a little more clear to read? Please add emojis and slight humor." And, the AI that I use, I've been using Claude, knows my personality now and will like input my own sense of humor throughout, but I can just write the way I want to write.
Mm,
The misuse of AI is expecting AI to do all the work, right? AI, kind of like our technology, should amplify our human touch. AI should amplify what we're putting out there.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've talked to some other like healthcare professionals and asked
Hmm.
them similar questions about AI. And a theme that I keep seeing and hearing from these people is that AI can be a great tool to increase efficiency and make you
Yes.
more productive. However, it can't replace that human to human connection. It
No.
can't, a machine can't properly empathize with a
Right.
human being.
Mm.
And so having that human touch is still super
Yes.
important. It's not going to completely take over
No.
with that,
The
or at least it shouldn't.
I see a lot of people these days using AI to give them workouts and to give them nutrition plans. And the problem is, one, you have to feed AI the right information to get, and it's still, in a sense, it's still Google.
Yeah, yeah,
You're still basically Googling. So you're not always going to get the most accurate information. If you start looking up health issues, you're still dying every time you right?
yeah,
And you haven't had someone look at the fact that you can't put your arm up here and you can't do it, but you don't have the knowledge to know why. What is it? And it's probably the shoulder, but why is the shoulder? What part of the shoulder? And so you if you getting a workout on AI when you have some imbalances, when you have some pre-existing injuries, current injuries, osteoarthritis acting up, may be harmful
hmm, hmm,
because AI is not going to know all those things. You can tell it where you hurt,
yeah,
but I mean, it's only somebody with the knowledge and the background to watch your movement and patterns and see, okay, we've got some imbalance in the hips, we've got some pelvic shifts, we've got something going on in the shoulder. Let's watch where you have the pain, where you don't. I mean, that takes the human touch. And
yeah,
the same thing happens with nutrition. So, it goes back to getting your nutrition plan from the girl on social media who's 23 and doing CrossFit, and
hmm,
you're 58 and you can barely do a squat anymore because your knees hurt and your low back is tight, and you're getting this workout and thinking you should be able to do this workout. Same thing with AI. You can put your age in there, you can put your limitations, but it's not gonna be like working with someone who can be hands-on.
right, and has the experience that um and the knowledge to apply to
Yes.
people's specific situations.
Yeah.
Do you foresee that AI is going to be used appropriately and effectively and be a boon for humanity, or do you feel like people are going to abuse it and it's going to be a detriment to humanity?
I think it's a double-edged sword.
Hmm.
I think when used properly, it can be highly advantageous. Um, but it also can be the Achilles heel to people who really think they're getting answers and they're not getting the right answers, or
Hmm.
they're using it to replace using their brain.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think, we forgot how to add and subtract because we had calculators, right? Now
Yeah.
people are forgetting how to write, how to speak, because they're putting everything through AI. You don't even know when you interview someone anymore what you're really getting because they probably created the resume through AI, and then I've also had people that really enhanced, their photos and everything through AI. So you're talking to a completely different person than the person who delivered that resume and that profile photo and everything. So
Hmm.
it's a double-edged sword. I love to use it to enhance our what we deliver to our clients. So, for example, when I do a body analysis for someone, the machine tells me where that person's resting metabolic rate is, where their active metabolic rate is. And I decide as a person where I want to put their calories based on how much weight they want to lose, based on their activity level, how that's going to increase. I decide where their macronutrients should be based on how much inflammation's in their body, how old they are, all of those things. I put all that information from my brain and from the other machine into AI, especially if it's somebody who has is vegetarian, somebody who may be have an Indian family and that's their cultural cuisine. I don't have as much background in that. So I'll put
Mm.
it in AI and say, can you please help me with some recipes, 5 ingredients or less, that are based on, from this part of India?
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's where it benefits me because I don't know that.
Yeah.
I know the numbers, I know the data, and I know the person, but I don't know recipes. I don't cook with recipes. I don't know, how to. I have a client right now going on the road. He's going to be limited to restaurants and service stations because of what he's about to go do for
Mm.
a month. And
Mm.
so I definitely use AI in those situations because I don't go to a lot of service stations. So I don't know what even they have available anymore. And so those are the times it's really, really helpful and advantageous. But when you quit using your brain and you decide that AI is going to be that robot that works for your brain, well, there goes your, mental health as you're getting older. We have to keep
Yeah.
learning new things, and we can't rely on a robot to do that for us.
Definitely. Well, I think it goes for younger people too. If you're
Of
outsourcing all
course.
of your thinking to a machine, I
Yes.
mean, you don't you don't exercise your brain and you don't develop new
No.
skills and
Mm-mm.
independent thoughts.
Right.
Uh, yeah, we kind of use AI in a similar way where, we write a lot of policies and procedures and that sort of thing for us and for our clients. And it's, it takes something. If I have to write an incident report because there was a cybersecurity incident with one of my clients, I can use AI to create a framework for the report, and then I can tweak it and input the important information. And it takes something that would have taken me 3 or 4 hours to write and turns it into
Right.
something I can write in like, 10 or 15 minutes. Uh,
Exactly.
but a lot of people, like in my industry in IT, they there's this trend of starting to replace low help desk workers with AI chatbots. And on one side, it does help save the business's money because you're not paying employees to do that. However, it seems to really degrade the level of support that
Yes.
people get. And, I if I'm having a problem with something, whether that be technology or my nutrition or something, I want to talk to a real person that I can actually have
Yeah.
a conversation with and that I can share my experiences with and
Sure.
all that sort of thing, rather than a chat bot that's just kind of, you know,
Yes. I
trying
am
to,
so glad
yeah.
you just said that because that has been the arch nemesis of my existence for the past few days. I was just on with my bookkeeping you know person today, and because I have 5 QuickBooks accounts, one of which I'm paying for, but couldn't get anybody to help me to find which of these 5 because I couldn't get in any of them.
Huh.
And I spent an hour and a half of my time because there's no phone number to call.
Hmm.
There's, a bot that is taking me to an article that has nothing to do with my problem.
Yep.
And so we had to, I mean, we got on for an hour today and finally, with a lot of digging, found how to get in. But that was 3 hours of my time that
Hmm.
if I had been able to talk to a person, they would have said, oh, with this credit card, this is the one that you are paying for. And here's your email for that one. Here's how to reset your password. It would have been 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I dealt with something very similar actually with Riverside, what we're using to record this. Um, it I had a podcast episode I had recorded with a gentleman, and it was like stuck in processing for a week. And
Oh,
so I
no.
couldn't edit the episode and I couldn't publish it. Uh, and the same kind of thing. I went to the support and there was an AI chatbot and it was trying to send me to these articles that didn't have the information that I needed. And I finally found where I could submit a support ticket, but it was very buried. And I got a hold of a real support technician and they were like, oh, I see the problem. It's all fixed now. Like
Yeah.
in 10 minutes. Uh, but it took me a couple hours to get to that point where it only took 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I will say, I do have a couple software platforms where I have a person, a contact that I can, touch base with anytime and they will get back to me very quickly. Um, that's the exception to the rule. So I always tell them I am, so appreciative. This is why I stay here,
yeah,
is because I can get a real person to help and support us when we need it.
yeah, definitely. Well, we're running up on time. What's one last chunk of knowledge or one last thing you want to leave our audience with?
The last chunk of knowledge, I would say, with regard, health and fitness is paramount. And we're kind of in this vicious cycle of looking for the easy button, not building a foundation, and not having the confidence to think that there's something on the other side of the way we're feeling. And so I would just encourage everybody to take a chance on themselves, living their best life at any age, and just take that first step. So it may not be hire a personal trainer, nutritionist, like we do everything at FitZone. It may be just, okay, let's commit to moving 20 minutes a day and let's eat more whole foods.
Hmm.
But take that first step, because the sacrifice is the ultimate sacrifice, which is your health. You can have all the money in the world, all the love of people around you in the world, but if you don't have your health, you will not enjoy any of it. And too many people get to retirement and they can't enjoy the fruits of their labor for all the decades because then they are ill.
Hmm.
So just take that first step.
Yeah, yeah, little changes like you were saying, and that
Yes.
compound. Okay, well, thank you, Stacy, for joining us today. Where can people find you?
They can find us at fitzonepersonaltraining.com. That's FITZONE personaltraining.com. My name's Stacy, and so my email is stacy at fitzonepersonaltraining.com. Long but simple email. And we do it all, and we kind of help everybody take that a step at a time, have the community, the accountability, and the guidance to get to the other side of what they're feeling today and know that a year from now, their body, their mind, and their spirit can be completely changed.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you again. And for all you that are listening, you can find this podcast on YouTube and Spotify, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Brad.